So for example, if you did pay for that accommodation split 2 ways with the flight, that would cost you £60 for a 3-night stay in Chiang Mai. That is absolutely insane, and that's how you do it. So Chiang Mai is one of the most popular cities you can visit in Thailand. And in this video, I'm going to be telling you everything you need to know about this city. I'm going to show you what to do, where to stay, and most importantly, show you how you can visit this amazing city for as little money as possible. So I actually visited Chiang Mai this year, and I can tell you that it is one of the best cities that I have visited in Southeast Asia. It's bustling, full of life, and has so much to see. One of the first things you always have to think about when you visit any city is, how long do I need to stay? Now, when you're visiting Chiang Mai, this will depend on a number of different factors. And these can be, what do you want to do with your stay? And how long are you prepared to stay? The reason why I say this is because most people, when they're traveling, particularly around this area of Southeast Asia, are normally on a tight schedule and are trying to see as much as they can in as little time as they have available. And this was the case for me, and I chose to stay in Chiang Mai for around 3 to 4 days. And I got most stuff done that I wanted to, but there was still lots that I could have done. So if you're just looking to explore Chiang Mai and the surrounding areas, I would recommend staying about 3 to 4 days. So figuring out how long you want to stay will actually also depend on how you plan on getting to Chiang Mai. Now, for those of you who don't know, Chiang Mai is found in the northern part of Thailand, and there's mainly 2 ways of getting there. You either get the train from Bangkok or you fly from various different parts of Southeast Asia. Now, if you do want to get the train, because as experience, getting a train around Thailand is very, very common. Partly because it can save you a lot of money, but I must stress that if you do plan on getting a train from Bangkok to Chiang Mai, for example, it can take up to 13 hours. And from what I know, the train isn't the most comfortable, even if you get a first class ticket. So bear that in mind. One of the main reasons why you would get a train in Southeast Asia is to save money. Now, for me, I ended up getting the plane because once I did some of my own research, I found that it was super cheap. I flew with Thai Air, so that's the premium airline, which are usually more expensive, and it cost me £30, which is hardly anything. And I believe if I flew with something like Air Asia or Vietjet, it can cost as little as £13. Obviously, this is a one-way ticket because generally you fly there, then you might go somewhere else. If I would make any recommendation, it would be to fly to Chiang Mai rather than getting a train, because it's a 50-minute flight compared to a 13-hour journey on the train, and it's really cheap. So if you've got a little bit more money to spend to fly to Chiang Mai, I highly recommend doing it this way. Now, the next part that I want to talk about is where to stay. Now, Chiang Mai is actually the second biggest city in Thailand. So if you don't know the city at all, it's quite difficult to know where you need to stay. Now, the good news is that Chiang Mai is one of the cheapest cities that I have found to get hotels in, even in super central locations. Now, when you look at a map of Chiang Mai, you'll notice that there is kind of like a citadel right in the middle of the city, and these within the old city walls. Now, if you're going to stay anywhere in Chiang Mai, my recommendation is to stay anywhere within the old city walls. The reason being is because this is where a lot of the night markets are. This is where you'll be walking distance to a lot of the temples, and there'll be a lot of tours that will pick you up within this area. So it's just really accessible if you want to go and explore the rest of the city and the surrounding areas. Now, obviously there are some hostels, and some of them are in the city walls and some of them aren't, and these are super cheap. If you want to stay in some hostels, the Hostel World is a great place to look for this. I'm listing some of the prices that you can see here, but there's one place where you're looking to treat yourself to a hotel. Maybe do it in Chiang Mai because it's so cheap. I stayed here within the city walls, super central location, and it's called the Moon Dragon Hotel. And as you can see from these pictures and videos, it looks pretty awesome. And this cost us £30 a night. It's so cheap there. So from looking at these pictures, you would think that it's a super luxury hotel. So if there's anywhere that you're going to treat yourself to, I would always recommend trying to do that here. If you don't know how to find some of these cheaper deals, I'm going to talk about that at the end of this video, about how you can book places like this for super cheap. So if you want to know how to do that, please keep watching to the end and I'll explain that all for you. As I've said already, there is so much to do in Chiang Mai. And one of the biggest reasons why I went to Chiang Mai, and I think a lot of reasons why people go to this area of Thailand, is to visit the elephant sanctuaries. But only after doing some research, I found that actually it's really important that you choose the right elephant sanctuary. The reason being is because a number of these sanctuaries are actually completely unethical. Obviously, riding elephants is something that we don't generally do now. Some people were very blissfully unaware that a lot of the elephants were abused quite badly, and we now know that that's not something that we should support. So that's why the elephant sanctuaries have become so popular. I found a lot of these sanctuaries were previously where you used to go and ride elephants, and they're just rebranded. So you find that a lot of these elephants in certain sanctuaries are actually still equally as abused. So you can go there thinking that you're supporting a good cause, and actually you are paying money into these animals getting abused. And you didn't know about it. So it's really important that you do a lot of your own research if this is something that you want to do. Now, for me, I did a lot of research and I found there were two great places in Chiang Mai that you can go and visit, and this is the Elephant Nature Park and Happy Elephant Home. We chose to go to the Elephant Nature Park, and one of the big reasons is because a lot of the interactions you have with elephants at Elephant Nature Park are not forced. Because one of the big telltale signs of a place that may be unethical is if you have a lot of forced interactions with the animal. For example, if you bathe and wash the elephants. Now, this isn't always the case, but one of the big reasons why this isn't is because these are wild animals and they need to be treated as such. So if you're having that kind of very close interaction with them, the only reason why they're not acting out is because they've been taught to know if they act out around humans, they will get beaten. So if you do have a vision of doing that, of bathing the animals, you can do it at the Happy Elephant Home. They only do it on certain days with certain elephants because the certain trust levels are there. But generally speaking, at the Happy Elephant Nature Park, this isn't allowed. But don't make that think it's not worth visiting, because the Elephant Nature Park was one of the most incredible places I've ever been to. We were just led into a field and some of the elephants just came right up to us, and sometimes we could watch from a distance, and it was incredible, especially when they went and bathed in the river of their own accord. And what was really interesting watching them do that is that you realise that these are powerful creatures. And I don't think I'd be comfortable going in and bathing them. When they come out the water, the guides that were with us made sure that we steered clear and we didn't get in the way of the elephants as they come out, because they wanted to make sure that we were safe and the elephants wouldn't react to us being there. And this place as well doesn't just rescue elephants, it rescues a number of different other animals, a lot of dogs and cats, and does great community work as well. So if there was going to be any place that I would recommend, I personally would recommend the Elephant Nature Park. It's about £60 a day and you get some great food as well. I actually did a whole video in depth about this and also talked more in depth about the ethical side of it and how you can make sure that you're going to support the correct one. I'm linking it above me right now, so if that's something you want to do, please go and check that out. I've got the links to some of the other helpful resources that I have found, and also to the two Elephant Nature Park and Happy Elephant Home. So please make sure you check these out. And if you've got any questions about this, because I know it's quite a tricky subject to learn about, please let me know in the comments and I'll try my best to help you. Now, obviously doing a elephant sanctuary is a day trip out of Chiang Mai. And that isn't just the only thing you can do from day trips from Chiang Mai. You can actually do a number of jungle hikes. Chiang Mai is surrounded by deep jungle, and there are some absolute hidden gems within this jungle. There is a national park right outside of Chiang Mai, and you can do a number of guided tours. Get Your Guide is a great website that you can look at. I'm listing some of the tours that you can do now on screen. Now you just have to realize the kind of things that you also want to do, because as well as you can do these incredible jungle hikes, you can also go to something called the Sticky Waterfall. Now I'm not exactly sure of how this works, but I think it's a waterfall and some of the sediment has sort of built up over time, so you can climb up this incredible waterfall, and it looks really, really cool. I think it is quite touristy now, so if you have an expectation of going there and there's been no one around, it's secluded and it's a hidden gem, it's not going to be like that, but it's still a cool place to go. Unfortunately, I just didn't have time to see it, and I just made other priorities, such as the elephant sanctuary took priority for me over this. But if I would have had more time, I definitely would have considered going to the national park and doing a hike around this, and I think I would have gone to this waterfall, to be honest. So if you do want to do this, get your guys a great place to look at tours that you can do, and I will link to these down below. And also, oh, I nearly forgot as well, if you want to spend more time in the jungle, there's actually a lot of really, really cool places you can stay in the jungle itself. You can usually book these on booking.com, and there's some tree houses you can look at as well. So if this is something that you want to look at, I have once again linked them down in the description below. Now, when you travel to Southeast Asia, it's pretty, at some point, you're gonna go and visit temples. And if there's only one place that you're gonna do this in, I would highly recommend doing it in Chiang Mai. And as I said just now about some of the day trips and the jungle hikes you can do, there is a number of different tours you can do through Get Your Guide if you want to try and see as many temples as you want to in one day. Obviously, there's some great ones you can do in walking distance in Chiang Mai itself, but there are some really good ones that are just outside, and again, some day trips will cover that. For me, I didn't do any day trips to visit some of the temples. There's actually these kind of red cars that drive around Chiang Mai, and they're probably super touristy. I mean, they can take you to kind of any big tourist destination around Chiang Mai. You just have to negotiate a price with them. I did this with a few other people, so we could share the cost of it, and we essentially negotiated with this guy to take us around all the temples and wait outside. We probably got overcharged, but it was so cheap that to us it wasn't that bad. I can't remember exactly what it was, but if this is something that you want to do, if you get a group of you and doing it, it's really, really cheap, and it's probably cheaper than booking a day trip tour. So this is something that you can look at. If you don't want to try and haggle and get someone to wait outside, that's fine. A lot of these temples, there's cars like this absolutely everywhere when you come out the temples, because they know this is where most people are going to be. So if you want to get around to these temples but don't have transport, don't worry. Just look out for these red cars that I'm showing you right now, and they will take you around. Now, one of the main temples that you can go and see in Chiang Mai is this one. Now, I'm really bad at speaking Thai, so I'm not going to pronounce it. It looks amazing. You have these incredible steps when you turn up. It goes right up the top, so it's a lot of walking, but it looks really cool if you want a really cool picture. And at the top of it, there is some incredible looking temple. Actually, to get in the temple, I think it works out about 50p, something like that. It's really, really cheap. Now, if you're a woman, you need to make sure that you're covered up. It's kind of like going into like a Catholic church if you're in Europe. You have to be respectful. I didn't think that the Buddhist religion would be as strict about that, but that is something that I found when we went there. So make sure that if you're going to it, you have some way of covering up. Sometimes the temples, like they do in Bangkok, will actually offer people just to cover themselves up for free, but this isn't always the case. So make sure you make some precautions for that if you do want to go and visit it. As well as seeing this site, we also went to a lesser known temple, but it's still absolutely beautiful, particularly at golden hour. Now this one, which I'm listing the name of just here, it is just outside of Chiang Mai, a little bit closer to the city than the main one that a lot of people go and visit, but it's absolutely stunning. It's more of like a garden, and I think it's thousands of years old, and we managed to get some incredible photos walking around. But this is one of the big things. We actually found our first scam in Chiang Mai when we were there. So when we turned up, as you can see here, there was kind of like a shop to the side where they were selling a number of different stuff, which we walked straight past. And as we were walking in, a guy told us that we weren't allowed in, and that my shorts particularly were too short. And that I had to go and buy some stuff, and same with some of the girls that we were with weren't allowed to go in, even though what we were wearing was appropriate for the main temple. So we were a little bit confused as to why that was. Then we started to clock that there was a shop nearby, and the guy didn't look official. at all. Basically what they were trying to do is get us to go in and buy something so then we could let us in. But this guy was not official at all. And the small tour group turned up from probably a guided tour, and there were people wearing shorter things than we did, and they talked straight through. And he didn't talk to them. I think it's a scam that he was trying to get us to buy stuff into that. And once we realised that, we just walked past him. He shouted a lot at us, but then realised that we weren't listening and gave up. So if you do go to this temple and this guy, what I'm showing you right now, is outside trying to get you to buy things in the shop, just ignore him and go straight in, and he will give up on it. So that is one of the first things, and it's one of the things you can be careful of. There's quite a few scams, and it's expected in any tourist destination around the world, but particularly at this temple, this is where you can run into a scam, so just a warning for you all there. Now, one of the other big things that you can do when you're in Chiang Mai is visit the night markets. Now, anywhere in Southeast Asia, eating the street food, anyone knows, is one of the best things about visiting this part of the world. The food can be absolutely incredible, and Chiang Mai is absolutely no exception. One of the biggest markets is on a Sunday. The Sunday night market is the largest event in the city. Obviously, it only happens on a Sunday. So if you want to see this market, you have to go on a Sunday. So make sure that you base your trip accordingly for that. However, I wasn't there for the Sunday market, but there was still a number of other markets that we went and saw. And one of these was a place in Lana Square, which you can find just here. It was actually a really, really cool place. It was quite near quite a lot of some of the clubs that you can find in Chiang Mai, but there was some live music, and there was a number of stall sellers as well, and a lot of great food that you could try. And on some nights of the week, there was a small alley, and the whole place transformed into a really cool market that was selling great street food, a number of other little stuff as well, and we personally didn't find it to be very expensive either. You just haggle a little bit, and generally you can get a fair price, and this is one of the great things you can do. There's also a number of other bazaars and other night markets outside of the old city walls. There's so many in the city, so make sure that you do some of your own research to find these different places. And if you try and plan your trip in Chiang Mai for any time of the year, I would make sure you go when the Lantern Festival takes place. It is unbelievable. I personally couldn't work it around because I had to make sacrifices of other parts of Southeast Asia that I wanted to go to. So if I went to the time that this event was happening, I wouldn't be in a suitable time for when I wanted to be in Vietnam around that time of year, because the weather in this part of Southeast Asia can change quite drastically depending on what country you're in. So I just personally made that sacrifice, and that's something that you'll have to consider as well. But if you can make it work, please go to the Lantern Festival. The city is absolutely buzzing when this takes place, and there's some great food you can go and get as well. It just looks like an incredible thing you can do. So if this is something you want to do, make sure that you travel to Chiang Mai on these dates. This is when the Lantern Festival generally takes place, but it can change year on year. So make sure that you're aware of when that can happen and do the research. And these were just a few things that you can do whilst you're in Chiang Mai. There's so many other things that you can do, but these are generally the main things that you can see when you're there. It's an incredible place to go and see, so you're never going to struggle for things to do. And no, earlier on I said 3 to 4 days, and you can stay there a week, to be honest with you. But for me, 3 or 4 days was an adequate amount of time for you to go and see most of the main things that you can do around this area of Thailand. Now, I'm going to talk to you about my recommendations of some of the best places that you can eat in Chiang Mai. Now, the food in this area of Thailand is quite varied, so if you're vegan, you'll still have a lot of options. If you're just someone who likes to have a lot of meat, you'll have a lot of options. So that is why it's one of the best places you can eat generally in Thailand. But the food generally in Thailand, if you don't know, is very, very spicy. So if this isn't something that you like, make sure you make the waiter aware that you want no spice. I think the Thai translation is Mein Pen. So if you say Mein Pen, they know that you're not wanting spice. Generally, they speak great English anyway. So if you just say no spice when you order something, they'll generally try and keep it with not as much spice to them. But be aware that not spicy to someone in Thailand still might be spicy for you. So you just have to deal with it, unfortunately. It's just how Thai food is. Now, as you go for certain parts of the world and even certain parts of Thailand, there are certain dishes that are better in certain regions. And in Chiang Mai, one of the main dishes you have, and it's a dish that comes from this area of Thailand, is something called khao soi. Now, khao soi is essentially kind of like a ramen-y kind of thing. It's quite like a coconutty dish with some sort of crispy noodles on top, and it's absolutely delicious, by the way. And there's a number of places that do it. If you want to have this dish, most restaurants will do it. But there are certain places that do it better than others. But I'm going to give you some suggestions of places that I think does some great khao soi. Now, this is one place that does apparently the best khao soi in all of Chiang Mai, and it's kind of in the name. It's called khao soi masoi. I think that's the name. This is the name of it just here, and you can find it just here. It's outside of the city wall. But be aware, this place actually closes at 4 p.m. So it's not something you have to go for dinner. It's more somewhere for lunch. But this is one of the best places you can go to get some incredible khao soi. This isn't a vegan option though. I believe it does just the standard khao soi, which I think has meat or fish in it. So if this isn't something that you're able to do, this unfortunately isn't the places for you to go, but I'm going to give you a great alternative. If you are vegan, a great restaurant that you can go to, somewhere called Mr. Green's Restaurant. It has a really cool artwork just outside of it, you can see just here, and you can find the restaurant just here in Chiang Mai. It's in the old town citadel, and the food's incredible. I went there because my partner or my fiance is vegan, so I do generally experience quite a lot of the vegan food there, and I had the khao soi there, and it was absolutely incredible. The food was really, really fresh with these amazing coconuts, because within this region of Southeast Asia, generally the coconut is incredible. It's so fresh. And I also at this place had some mango sticky rice. Now, for those of you who don't know, mango sticky rice is kind of like a dessert thing. It's a sweet thing, and it's super good. And at this restaurant had a really, really good version of it as well. So this is a restaurant I'd absolutely highly recommend. And even if you're not vegan, I would recommend going to this place. It's really, really cheap, it's really affordable, and the staff there are really, really nice as well. And another restaurant that comes highly recommended on any searches that you find is the An Chan Veggie Restaurant. When I was doing research and I looked at any places to go to, this restaurant consistently come up for people going to it and have incredible food. The pad thai at this restaurant is supposedly some of the best pad thai that you can get. It's obviously a veggie one, so it doesn't have any meat in it. So if you're veggie or vegetarian, this is a great place for you to go. And then they have a number of other incredible dishes. Again, it's outside of the city wall, so it's a little bit of a walk. But if you're looking for some really, really good food, again, this place was highly recommended. And another really, really cool restaurant you can go to is somewhere called the Reform Cafe. It's down right a back alley. I found this online. You would not stumble on this place normally because you walk through a number of small back streets to find it, but it's absolutely incredible. They do kind of a deep fried zucchini or courgette, and it's really good. They've got a number of other different dishes, and I highly recommend this place. The place looks really cool. They kind of made it look quite like jungly. It's really, really nice. The staff there are really good. The drinks are really cheap, and the food's incredible. So this is a place that I would highly recommend. And if you're looking for great breakfast food, again, Chiang Mai has you covered. And one of the best places that we found was a place called Good Soul's Kitchen. When I went to it, I had a really, really good smoothie bowl, and as you can see here, it's just super fresh. It was like a chocolate coconut flavor. Had this really good iced tea drink. I can't remember the name of it. It was so nice. And also my fiance had some really good pancakes again, and these pancakes were vegan as well. So if you're vegan, this place has some great options for you. And there's just so much food in Chiang Mai that you can enjoy with the night markets as well. And some of these restaurants, so many places have you covered. And I hope that you watch this video, go to these restaurants and enjoy them, because they're so, so good. Now, one of the things that I always search when I go to anywhere in the world is how safe a particular place is. So now, as a city as a whole, Chiang Mai is perfectly safe. But like any city, you need to be aware. Now, Thailand itself, due to the political situation of the country, there is actually quite a lot of poverty. Even though it is a very rich country, I don't know the exact details of it, but I noticed when I was in Thailand, there was a lot of homelessness. Sometimes, particularly if you're a woman, or someone who presents herself as a woman, you could run into some issues, particularly around the Three Kings Monument late at night. So if you are a woman and walking around some of the old towns, some of the tiny back streets, because they're not particularly well lit, I wouldn't recommend walking around on your own. Make sure you walk around in a group and always make sure people are around you. Personally, I was walking with my fiance and we had somebody who just followed us, and I had to kind of shout at him quite a lot to make him go away, and only when we went into a busier area did he then give up. As a city itself, there's been other places I've been to where I've been far more intimidated, and this wasn't like that. So I don't want to paint Chiang Mai as an unsafe city. It is not. It's a great place to visit. We walked around a lot of the night markets, and for a lot of these restaurants we found on the back street late at night, we didn't find any problems whatsoever, but it's just making sure there's some areas where you need to be aware, particularly, as I said, around the Three Kings Monument. Some of you know when you're visiting Southeast Asia, the time of year you go is super important, because you don't want to go in wet season. Now, generally speaking, the best time for you to go with between November and February. This is generally when the weather will be at its best. I went there at the end of March, beginning of April, and I found it was super hot. The weather was great, but there was quite a lot of pollution due to some of the forest fires that were happening. So that's probably why it wasn't a great time of year to go. But generally speaking, if you want to go, this is the best time for you to do it. Any time of year that you go, be aware of mosquitoes. When we went to some of these temples, we stood still for a minute and they were just swarming you all the time, and it was super frustrating. So just make sure that you have enough bug spray depending on whatever time of year you go. And generally speaking, as I said, November to February is the best time of year to go. Any time out of that will be considered out of season, so you might be able to find some cheaper deals. And if you go rainy season in Southeast Asia, sometimes the whole day can be a write-off. Now, I've seen a lot of comments on my videos where a lot of people telling me how do I get from the airport to my Airbnb, and how do I get around the city in general? Well, for Chiang Mai, the public transport system is fairly non-existent. I'm going to be honest, obviously there are buses, but they're quite complex and some of the buses aren't in the best of states. So generally speaking, a lot of people either get taxis that they hire themselves from their hotel, book their own transfers, or they can use Bolt, which is essentially like Uber. It's the main kind of system they use in Chiang Mai in Thailand and in Vietnam as well. And to sign up on that, you need to make sure that you register your card beforehand, or you do it when you're in the country. It's super easy. It's just like Uber. So this is an app that I can recommend you download. For me, what I did is pre-book a transfer on Get Your Guide. It was super cheap. This is the one that I booked, and it was great just to kind of know that when I turned up at the airport, there was someone waiting for us. We went straight there, and for the price that it was, I was more than happy to pay that. So if that's something that you want to do, make sure you do that. Again, in terms of getting around different sites, I've kind of already explained this. You've got the red cars that I spoke about, which are safe, they are fine, they're official. Or you can just go on Get Your Guide and book sort of day trips where they'll hire it and do it yourself as well. So there's a number of different options for you to get around, and these generally are the main ones. But if you have any questions for me about this, again, just ask me in the comments below and I'll try my best to help you. For those of you who watch my channel a lot, you know that I always talk about cheap deals. I always say to so many people that traveling is not as expensive as it should be. And Chiang Mai is absolutely no exception. I've already spoken about how cheap some of the hotels are. And some of you might be wondering, well, how did you book that? Well, what I'm gonna do right now is show you how I do it. I'm gonna just be very quick because it doesn't take a long time at all. And so I'm gonna jump on the computer right now. I'm just gonna swap the camera around so you can see. I'm gonna show you how you can book cheap hotels and flights to Chiang Mai. So I've got a number of videos on this, but I'm just gonna explain to you very quickly about how I booked specifically some cheaper flights and hotels from Chiang Mai. First thing that you want to do is go onto Google Chrome. Is something that I use quite a lot, and we're going to go on here and we're going to select incognito mode. Now, incognito, for those of you who don't know, is essentially something that doesn't track your cookies. When you go on any holiday at all, or you're booking any kind of trip, cookies will essentially track you as you go through different sites. So if you're searching flights to Bangkok all the time and you're just kind of regularly doing it, it will know that you're doing that. What airlines will do is bump up the price to make you think that it's going up in price, and so therefore I book it now because flights are going up. What you'll find actually, if you go to incognito and look for the same flights, you'll find that the price has just gone back down to where it was. And that's because they're trying to prompt you to buy. So this is why it's so important to do an incognito mode. But the first thing that we're going to do is look at the flights. Now, what I do is go on Skyscanner, which is a very, very common website that you can use. Now, generally flying to Chiang Mai, because it's a small city, you wouldn't fly there direct from Europe. You'll fly for a number of different other places. I'm going to just put in from Bangkok as a domestic flight, but you could have this from any other parts of Southeast Asia. Bangkok is actually one of the cheapest places you can fly into from Europe, especially when you compare it to Singapore and places like that, because they're a lot more expensive to fly into. One of the main places that I wanted to visit when I went to Southeast Asia recently was Vietnam, but I found that flying in directly into Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh was way too expensive. Flying into Bangkok was a lot cheaper. So this is why I did that, and so that is one of my recommendations. If you're flying in to Southeast Asia, maybe try and look at flying into Bangkok instead, as a base for you to then fly to other cities. Now, a great feature that happens on Skyscanner is it shows you kind of a good time to fly and good time to not. So amber is kind of slightly expensive, green is like really cheap for the price, and red means it's super expensive. So as you flick through, you'll find that there'll be good times for you to fly. You can search the whole month as well, and sometimes you can just search the cheapest month. But what I'm going to do is look at a peak time. So we said November to February was peak time. So I'm going to look for flights around the 15th of November, for example, but I'm only going to have this as a one-way ticket, because generally speaking, when you're flying around Southeast Asia, I would fly to Chiang Mai and then I might go to Kuala Lumpur from there, or Hanoi. I'll go on from there to elsewhere. Just going to put that as a single ticket, single price, and then let's see how much that is. Now, and again, I've just proven my point. You can fly from Bangkok to Chiang Mai for as little as £22. Air Asia is a really, really good airline. I flew with them quite a lot when I was in Southeast Asia. When I flew to Chiang Mai though, I had quite a lot of luggage, so I decided to fly with Thai because they give you quite a lot of luggage allowance within their price as well. As you can see here, the prices there are £32, which is really, really cheap. I think it was about £30 when I did it. And when you factor in paying for the extra luggage, you realise that actually it's just cheaper to fly with Thai Air. So always consider that, depending on how much luggage that you have available. That is it. It's not magic. It's just a little bit of searching around. You can see how cheap it is. But even if you're flying from a different country, so say like Vietnam, which is quite nearby, flights are still really cheap. It's £43. And again, it's only an hour and 45 minutes. So you can see that actually flying around this part of Southeast Asia, particularly to Chiang Mai, is really, really cheap. But if you're gonna do it, make sure you follow these steps. So go to your incognito mode, go on Skyscanner, look at the map and tells you when the kind of cheaper dates are, and go from there. Now we know that we're going to be flying on the 15th of November, so I'm going to stay there about 3 nights. I'm now going to go on booking.com because I think it's a really, really good website to use. I'm going to look at Chiang Mai and we're going to see what we can get. Okay, so we've just been looking at for 3 nights and we found some incredible finds. So again, I found this hotel here, which you can see, which has a really nice pool, some great breakfast, and looks like a great place for you to stay in. For the 3-night stay, it's £127, which equates to £42 a night. And if it's split between two of you are going, that is just under £22 a night to stay at a luxury hotel like that. And you know, I can even find better than that. I can even find this hotel, which again looks absolutely stunning, and it's only £79 for the entire stay, which works out about, if you doing it split between 2 people, £13 a night, which is just so cheap. And this is why I say, if you're going to treat yourself for anything, you do it in Chiang Mai. That's super cheap, £13 a night. That's like hostel money. So for example, if you did pay for that accommodation split 2 ways with the flight, that would cost you £60 for a 3-night stay in Chiang Mai. That is absolutely insane, and that's how you do it. Now, I've got a lot more videos on my channel where I go a lot more in depth about exactly how I done that. I talked about that very, very briefly and showed you some of the techniques that I use to find the cheap deals. There are different ways you can do it, and there are different methods to finding better deals at different times of the year. One of the videos that I've got on that is just above me right now, so make sure you click on that if you want to learn a little bit more. But if you've got any questions about Chiang Mai, anything I've talked about in this video, please ask me down in the comments. This channel is all about helping you see the world more by saving you money. So if there's anything you need, anything you feel like I've not covered, or you want more clarification on, ask me down in the comments. And if you've enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comment, like the video, share with as many people as you want, because that really helps me out. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you on my next video. See you later.